Stars glittered like frozen fire above the silent void as the Threxian fleet drifted closer to the blue world called Earth. Their flagship, Dominion Spear, moved like a steel predator, its dark hull reflecting distant suns. For centuries, the Threxians had ruled hundreds of systems through fear and power. To them, Earth was nothing but a minor, primitive planet, unworthy of concern, yet irritating enough to demand punishment. Captain Vereen stood on the command deck, her sharp eyes fixed on the glowing image of Earth. Around her, officers worked quickly, their scaled hands tapping control panels. "Prepare orbital lockdown," she ordered calmly. "This world refused tribute. We'll remind them who commands the galaxy." The crew nodded. None expected resistance. No one believed humans could fight back. Far below on Earth, the Terran Defense Network was already awake. Silent satellites turned their lenses toward the invading fleet. Deep inside a hidden command bunker, General Marcus Hale watched the readings scroll across his display. His face was calm, but his eyes were cold. "They've entered the system," he said quietly. "So it begins." He turned toward the room full of officers and engineers. "Activate defense protocols. All fleets prepare to launch." No warnings this time. The atmosphere grew tense. Everyone knew what this meant. Humanity had waited centuries for this moment. They had built weapons in secret, pretending weakness while they hid power behind the stars. The galaxy had mocked them, ignored their warnings, and underestimated their resolve. Now the truth would rise with fire. Up in orbit, the Threxian ships crossed the outer defense line. Sensors flared red across Vereen's console. "Strange," her science officer muttered. "There are power readings from multiple orbital points, but there's no signal, no heat signature, nothing visible." "Cloaking fields," Vereen guessed, laughing softly. "Humans trying to play soldier." "Disrupt them, then begin bombardment." Her command ship released a deep vibration as plasma cannons charged. Blue light gathered along the hull, ready to fire on the silent planet below. But before the order could be completed, the void screamed. From the darkness, enormous shadows moved, human ships rising like beasts from deep sleep. Their hulls were covered in black plating, marked with silver eagles and red stars. Hundreds of them emerged in formation, their engines glowing like burning suns. Each vessel dwarfed the Threxian cruisers. "Contact! Multiple warships, closing fast," shouted an officer. "We're being surrounded." Vereen's eyes widened. "That's impossible. They don't have this kind of technology." On the human flagship TDS Resolute, General Hale stood before the central viewport. The Threxian fleet looked small from here, too confident, too proud. He gave a single nod. "Send the message." A calm voice echoed through every Threxian channel. "This is Terran Defense Command. You are entering restricted space. Turn back immediately." The bridge of the Dominion Spear filled with laughter. Vereen leaned forward, her smile sharp. "Transmit reply. Tell them they should kneel before the Dominion or burn with their planet." But before her words could reach Earth, the stars lit up. From every human ship, bright lines of plasma burst into the void, pure energy guided by AI precision. The first Threxian cruiser vanished in a white explosion, then another and another. Fire washed across space like a storm. Vereen's ship shook violently as the first barrage hit. "Shields failing! Armor breach on decks 4 through 6. Someone shouted. Vereen grabbed the railing to steady herself. "Return fire! All batteries, focus on that lead vessel." But their shots scattered harmlessly against invisible barriers. The humans didn't use simple shields, they had something far beyond. Energy fields rippled like water, bending light, reflecting every attack back into the void. On the Resolute, Hale watched silently. His crew worked without words, their faces lit by the glow of weapon systems. The Threxian fleet was falling apart faster than anyone could have imagined. "Target their command ship," Hale said quietly. "End it quickly." A single cannon rotated on the human ship's underbelly, gathering immense power. The light grew brighter, brighter still, until it painted the stars white. When it fired, the beam tore through space like the finger of a god. It struck the Dominion Spear head-on. Vereen saw it coming. For one breathless second, she understood the truth. The humans had not been weak. They had been waiting. The beam hit and her world vanished in flame. From orbit, the fire spread across the darkness. Burning wreckage drifted through the black, glowing like falling stars. The Threxian fleet, once proud, once feared, was gone. General Hale stood silently as the last enemy signal faded. "No one believed," he murmured. Now they will. Earth rotated peacefully below, its blue surface untouched. Yet above it, the sky burned with the light of vengeance. And across the galaxy, whispers would soon spread of the humans who fought like gods, of a world that turned silence into fire. It was the day the galaxy learned the truth. No one believed what humans could do until the sky burned. The council chamber of the Galactic Union hung silent above the molten surface of Vereen Prime, a planet once proud, now trembling beneath the weight of news no one wanted to believe. Holographic screens surrounded the vast hall, each replaying the same impossible footage. The destruction of the Threxian fleet by human forces near Earth. Thousands of ships gone in minutes. Entire squadrons erased by a single coordinated strike. The sky burning above a once-ignored blue world. Counselor Ral Tor, a creature of feathers and glassy black eyes, slammed his talons against the podium. "Fabrication," he shouted. The humans could not have such weapons. This must be a manipulation by another empire. But even as his voice echoed, the chamber's central AI projection replayed the final moments again. The Terran ships emerging from darkness, their formation flawless, their energy signatures unlike anything recorded in galactic history. The humans had not just fought. They had dominated. At the far end of the chamber, High Chancellor Zara leaned back, her golden skin pale in the flickering light. "The Dominion fleet is gone," she said quietly. 37,000 lives gone, and not a single human casualty confirmed. The silence that followed was thick enough to feel. "Impossible," Raltor muttered, pacing. "No species evolves that quickly. 2 centuries ago, humans were still learning basic warp travel. Their science was primitive. Maybe they were never as primitive as we believed," Sarah interrupted. "Maybe they were preparing while we were laughing." In another corner, Admiral Senvok of the Dravari Republic spoke in a low, cautious tone. "Their ships carried energy readings beyond anything our scanners could identify. If they developed that technology in secret, the balance of power has shifted." Zara turned her gaze toward the dark holographic map of the Milky Way. "Shifted?" she whispered. "No, it's broken." Meanwhile, far across the void in Earth's orbit, the Terran fleets were silent once more. Smoke and debris drifted in the black as cleanup drones worked tirelessly, collecting remnants of the Threxian armada. Humanity's sky was clear again, but their leaders knew the storm was only beginning. Inside the orbital fortress TDS Aegis, General Marcus Hale stood before a large viewport. The reflection of burned metal danced in his eyes. Behind him, his staff waited for orders. "Status report," Hale said simply. "Enemy fleet destroyed, sir," a young officer replied. "No survivors detected. We're intercepting open comms. Multiple galactic factions are already reacting. Some don't believe what happened. Others are preparing defenses." Hale nodded slowly. "They'll come. Fear always leads to fear." He turned toward the massive star map projected in front of him, the entire galaxy glowing with thousands of signals. One by one, certain sectors began flashing red. "They're scanning us," said another officer, "trying to understand what happened." "Let them look," Hale replied. "They'll see only what we allow." For decades, humanity had been underestimated, dismissed as emotional, chaotic, unpredictable. That image had been their greatest weapon. While the galaxy debated their weakness, humans built in silence. Factories on the far side of the moon, shipyards orbiting Neptune, defense satellites hidden behind artificial nebulae. The Terran Federation had waited for this day. Now the mask was off. "General," said Commander Lin from the comms desk. "Incoming message from the Council itself. They request immediate communication under the Peace Charter." Hale almost smiled. "Peace Charter? After they let the Dominion invade Earth? Patch it through." The hologram of Chancellor Zara flickered into existence. Her expression was strained, a mix of fear and curiosity. "General Hale," she began. "The Council acknowledges the recent incident." "We wish to understand your actions." "Incident?" Hale repeated. "Your Dominion fleet invaded our system. We defended our home." "That's not an incident, Chancellor. That's survival." Zara took a slow breath. "The destruction was excessive." "Entire fleets excessive?" Hale cut in, his voice low and sharp. "For centuries, your council watched humanity from afar. You called us unstable, dangerous. You sent spies, probes, and peacekeepers. And when that wasn't enough, you let your Dominion dogs off the leash. Tell me, Chancellor, did you expect us to die quietly? The room on her side fell silent. Even across light years, his words carried the same cold certainty that had silenced her admirals. Zara tried to maintain her calm. We cannot afford another war. The galaxy is on edge. If the Federation continues to expand its military, then the galaxy will finally learn to be careful. Hale interrupted again. We warned you once. No one listened. The transmission ended abruptly. The hologram faded. Commander Lin exhaled slowly. You just declared war on half the galaxy, sir. Hale looked out the window, watching the dawn rise over Earth's surface. No, he said. They declared it the moment they forgot we were human. In the deep halls of the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. Some demanded immediate retaliation, others urged diplomacy. Fear spread faster than light. Rumors claimed the humans had built planet killers. Others said they'd found alien relics that powered their rise. None knew the truth, and that uncertainty was humanity's sharpest weapon. In hidden human command centers scattered across Mars, Titan, and Luna, preparations began. Fleets mobilized quietly. Engineers calibrated new weapons, and AI commanders simulated potential invasions. Humanity wasn't celebrating victory. They were preparing for the next wave. As the hours passed across alien worlds, leaders held meetings filled with panic. Empires that once ruled unchallenged now whispered the same fearful phrase. The humans are coming. In the quiet of his quarters, Hale stood alone, reading an ancient Earth proverb carved on a steel plate. Never wake a sleeping giant. He touched the words, his jaw tightening. They didn't just wake us, he murmured. They struck the first blow. Now they'll see what comes after. Far beyond Earth, at the edge of the Orion Arm, long-range probes detected movement, massive energy signatures, unknown formations. The humans were not stopping. They were expanding outward into the dark. The galaxy had laughed once. Now it held its breath. No one had believed what humans could do. Now everyone did, and they were terrified. The Galactic Council's chamber no longer echoed with pride or control. It echoed with fear. The once golden hall of rulers was now a storm of voices, each shouting over the other. Reports flooded in from every sector. Dominion fleets refusing orders, allied worlds pulling back their patrols, and colonies sending desperate messages begging for protection. The humans had not just won a battle. They had broken the illusion of galactic power. High Chancellor Zara stood at the center of it all, her expression like carved stone. She had spent decades maintaining peace through intimidation and negotiation. But now even her calm could not silence the truth replaying in the holographic air before her. The burning sky of Earth, the destruction of the Threxian fleet, and the single message that followed from humanity's network. This is the Terran Federation. Leave our system and remember, mercy was your first and final gift. That transmission was now banned in half the galaxy, but everyone had already heard it. Traders whispered it in every station, soldiers repeated it in training yards, and rulers dreamed of it in fear. The humans had spoken with power no one could match. Zara's advisors surrounded her in panic. We must act, hissed one. They've destroyed a fleet larger than any single empire has ever commanded. If they continue, the balance of power collapses. Should we mobilize the outer arm? Another barked. If we wait, they'll strike first. Zara raised her hand, silencing them. Her eyes moved toward the holomap in front of her, a galaxy painted with stars and shadows. Earth glowed red at its heart. We attack blindly, she said softly, and we lose more than fleets. We lose our unity. Humanity has done in one battle what no empire could do in centuries. They've united our fear. Meanwhile, across the void, deep within the Terran Command citadel on Mars, humanity was preparing for what came next. General Marcus Hale stood in front of a massive screen displaying dozens of alien emblems. Every race that had once ignored Earth's calls for peace now faced a choice: approach humanity with respect or prepare for fire. Commander Lin entered the chamber. Transmission from the Vega frontier, she reported. Council fleets are gathering near the neutral zones. Looks like they're scared but not stupid. Hale turned, his voice calm but firm. Good. Fear keeps them cautious. But if they make the first move, we finish it. He stepped closer to the viewport, watching the red deserts of Mars shimmer under artificial suns. Below, construction drones swarmed like ants, building new ships, new weapons, and new hope. Humanity had changed. Once they dreamed of reaching the stars. Now they were building walls made of steel and vengeance. "Sir," Lynn said quietly, "some of our allies are worried. They think we're becoming the thing they feared. Unstoppable, merciless." Hale's gaze didn't waver. Then maybe it's time they learn what mercy costs. Back in the Council's core, Zara met privately with the remaining members of the High Alliance. Around her sat Admiral Senvak, the Dravari strategist, Councillor Raltor, trembling with fury, and Kalan, a scholar from the neutral worlds. Holographic displays shimmered above the table, showing captured images of Terran warships. "They call that class of vessel a dreadnought," Senvak muttered. "Fully autonomous, faster than light beyond known parameters. And their energy output, it doesn't match fusion, plasma, or antimatter." Kalan leaned forward, his tone measured. "Rumors say they've found something ancient beneath their oceans. Old technology buried from before their recorded history." Raltor snapped his claws. "Lies. No one hides such power for centuries without being discovered." But Zara's voice cut through the noise. "Humans are not like us. They hide pain. They wait. And then they strike with everything." The others fell silent. At that same moment, on the dark edge of the Sol system, humanity's new fleet gathered in the shadow of Neptune. Thousands of ships aligned in perfect formation, their armor gleaming like obsidian mirrors. Each bore the insignia of the Terran Federation, a silver eagle spreading its wings across a burning star. The fleet commander, Admiral Reyes, stood aboard the flagship TDS Vengeance. His voice carried through every vessel as he addressed them all. "They thought we were children. They called us reckless, primitive. Now they see the truth. We do not seek war. But if war comes, we end it." 1,000 captains raised their fists in silent salute. Far beyond, hidden probes from the Council transmitted the scene back to Zara's chamber. The room fell quiet as they watched the human fleet in perfect discipline, engines glowing like suns. Raltor whispered, "They're preparing to expand." Zara nodded grimly. "No, they already have." In the following days, strange reports flooded from the outer rim. Human ships appeared at abandoned colonies, repairing ancient outposts that once belonged to other empires. They offered food to starving refugees, medical aid to forgotten worlds, and in return they asked for silence and allegiance. It wasn't conquest. It was control through fear and respect. Across the stars, some began to admire humanity. Small factions declared loyalty to the Federation, tired of being ruled by corrupt councils and failing empires. Zara's intelligence network intercepted one of their transmissions. Humans protect their own, and those who stand with them. That single message terrified her more than the burning of the sky. On Mars, Hale received the same report and allowed himself a rare smile. "The galaxy finally listens," he said quietly. Commander Lynn turned to him. "What happens when they stop listening?" Hale looked out at the horizon, where new battleships rose like mountains of fire. "Then," he said, "they'll remember why they started." The stars outside shimmered in silent witness. Humanity had become a storm in motion, rising, expanding, reshaping everything it touched. The Council could no longer predict their next move, and somewhere, deep within the void, new eyes were watching, ancient ones, waiting for their own chance to rise. But for now, one truth echoed across the galaxy, written in every burned sky and every frightened whisper. No one believed what humans could do. Now the galaxy did, and it would never forget. Far beyond the reach of most maps, the Terran fleet drifted like a moving continent of steel. Thousands of ships gleamed under alien suns, carrying the banner of humanity's new age. Each vessel bore the mark of the Federation. An eagle's wings spread wide over a burning star. Humanity was no longer hiding on its blue world. It was expanding. Claiming, Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge of the TDS Vengeance, his eyes fixed on the glowing image of a distant planet, Erebos IV, once a council colony, now abandoned after years of war. "Initiate descent," he said. His voice carried the calm certainty of someone who had seen too much fire to fear it anymore. The massive fleet moved like one living thing. Dropships broke from formation, their trails cutting silver lines through the dark. On the planet below, thick clouds rolled aside, revealing forgotten cities buried in dust and shadow. When the first Terran boots touched the ground, the air shimmered with old radiation. Commander Arya Vale led the first landing team. Her armor was black with glowing blue veins, her eyes scanning through the cracked ruins. "Radiation stable. No life forms detected," she said through her comms. Then she paused, kneeling beside a wall carved with alien script. "They left in a hurry." Rhea's voice came through the channel. "Secure the site. These colonies were once the Council's pride. Now they're our frontier." Back in orbit, the fleet began deploying beacons, towers of light that stabbed upward into the void. The Terrans were not just visiting. They were claiming territory. Across the galaxy, sensors from dozens of empires picked up the signals. The humans were expanding faster than anyone thought possible. On the Galactic Council's homeworld, panic spread like a disease. Reports poured in from every arm of the spiral. Human ships establishing bases on neutral planets, securing old mining stations, rebuilding forgotten spaceports. "They're not invading," Counselor Raltor hissed. "They're absorbing." Chancellor Zara stood over the holographic map, her eyes tracing the new red lines marking Terran territory. "If this continues, they'll control half the outer rim in a year," she said quietly. "We can't let them grow unchecked." Admiral Senvok, always calm, always precise, spoke up. "Then we don't face them head on. We bleed them quietly. Sabotage, misinformation, hidden wars. The humans think they can build without consequence. We'll remind them the galaxy doesn't forget." But even as he spoke, humanity was already 2 steps ahead, in deep space. General Hale and Commander Lin watched as new communications from Erebos 4 came online. "Colonization successful," Lin reported. "Terraformers operational. Civilian transports on the way." "Good," Hale said. "What about the other worlds?" 7 more secured. 3 under dispute with local factions. "Offer them food, medicine, protection," Hale replied. "The same promise we made to Earth. Safety through unity." It was the same strategy the Council once used to control lesser species, but humanity had perfected it. Instead of ruling through fear, they ruled through strength wrapped in mercy. And it was working. On planets that once cursed humanity, banners now rose bearing Terran colors. Farmers who once feared Council taxes now traded under human protection. Soldiers who once swore loyalty to alien empires now wore human insignias. The Council's intelligence division intercepted a recording from a Dravari outpost, a simple message broadcast across open space. "Humans brought food when the Council brought rules. I know who I'll fight for." Zara listened to the message in silence. Around her, the counselors argued for war, but she only whispered, "They're winning hearts. That's more dangerous than fleets." Meanwhile, on Erebos IV, Commander Vale's team uncovered something ancient beneath the surface. Deep under the ruins lay a vast metallic chamber, humming faintly with unknown power. "Sir," she said through the comm, "we found something. It's not Council tech, older, much older." Reyes leaned closer to the holoscreen, his eyes narrowing. "Send data to command. Whatever it is, handle with caution." The floor trembled as the Terrans uncovered what looked like a sleeping machine, its surface covered in alien symbols none could read. Energy pulsed from it, faint but alive, as if waiting for something or someone. That night, as stars glimmered over the half-lit world, Vale stood alone by the ancient door. "Sir," she whispered, "what if this isn't a relic? What if this is what they were afraid of?" Back on Mars, Hale watched the data stream in. The readings didn't match any known material. It wasn't natural nor mechanical. It was something else. "Keep it contained," he ordered. "No one touches it until we understand it." But it was already too late. The signal from Erebos 4 echoed through space, reaching places no human had ever been. In the cold dark between galaxies, something vast stirred, something that had slept for eons, waiting for the sound of awakening civilizations, far beyond. In the unknown void, a voice unlike any other whispered through static. "So, they found it again." On Mars, Hale stared at the strange energy readings flickering across his screens. His gut told him the galaxy's fear was about to become something much worse. The humans had risen to power, but in doing so, they had lit a beacon into the deep, and something had answered. The sky had burned once before, but this time it might burn for everyone. The vast emptiness between galaxies shimmered faintly as though the void itself was breathing. Deep beyond the frontier worlds, humanity's beacon, the one ignited on Arevos 4, had reached places no transmission was ever meant to go. On Mars, General Marcus Hale stood in the dim command center, his gaze fixed on the holographic readings dancing across the air. The energy pulses from Erebos had not faded. They were growing stronger, spreading outward like ripples across a dark ocean. Commander Lin entered, her expression tense. "Sir, we're picking up anomalies on deep-range sensors. Unidentified signatures, non-council, non-human. They appeared after the Erebos activation." Hale frowned. "Could it be a new council weapon?" "No, sir," she replied. "These signals are ancient. Older than the core civilizations. Maybe older than the council itself." Hale's jaw tightened. Humanity had risen faster than anyone expected, and they'd fought their way to survival through fire. But this felt different. Something out there had heard them. Far across the stars, within the hollow remains of a dead star, something stirred awake. Machines older than galaxies opened their eyes for the first time in eons. A chorus of deep mechanical tones filled the silence. "Origin signal detected," one said in a voice that shook space itself. "The children of the lost creators have awakened." On Erebos the 4, Commander Aria Vale led her team deeper into the newly uncovered chamber. The walls pulsed with faint blue light, responding to their every movement. At the center of the room stood a massive structure, half machine, half stone, covered in markings that shifted like living shadows. "Recording all data," Vale said softly. "But the energy is increasing." The ground trembled beneath their feet. The ancient structure's surface began to crack, releasing a pulse that shook their suits. "Evacuate," Vale shouted. But before they could retreat, a sphere of light burst outward. For a split second she saw visions, stars collapsing, galaxies torn apart, and a world of machines made from pure light. Then everything went dark. In orbit above the planet, alarms filled the TDS Vengeance. "Massive energy surge from the surface," shouted a technician. "We're detecting—" "I don't know what this is, Admiral. It's rewriting physics as we know it." Admiral Reyes clenched his fists. "Pull everyone out, now!" But the light didn't fade. It rose through the atmosphere, expanding until it brushed the void like a hand reaching for the stars. Every ship in orbit felt it, an emotion more than a sound. A whisper that echoed in every mind. "We remember you." When the light finally vanished, silence returned. Only then did Reyes speak. "Get me command. Tell General Hale we've awakened something." Back on Mars, Hale received the transmission and listened in silence. "Send recon probes," he ordered. "I want every sensor in the sector watching Erebos." But as the first probes launched, something else appeared. A fleet of unknown vessels, vast and ancient, emerged from hyperspace without warning. They were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Ships made of translucent material, glowing with inner fire, moving in perfect harmony. The Terran defense grid locked on instantly. "Multiple signatures inbound," Lin shouted. "Weapons hot." "Hold fire," Hale said calmly. "Let's see who knocks before we open the door." The unknown fleet stopped just beyond Mars orbit. A single transmission came through, low, deep, and resonant. "Children of Terra, descendants of those who defied extinction. We have returned." Hale stared at the screen. "Translate that again," he said quietly. Lin repeated. "They said we have returned." The hologram flickered, revealing a towering figure made of shifting light, vaguely humanoid, but impossible to define. "We are the architects," it said. "The ones who built what you now call the galaxy. We left when the first civilizations rose. We slept while your kind learned to crawl. Now we wake, because you have broken the silence." Hale felt a cold weight in his chest. "And what does that mean for us?" The figure's tone was neither kind nor cruel. "It means the test begins again." Before anyone could respond, the transmission ended. In its place, new signals appeared all over the galaxy. Ancient machines rising from dead worlds, forgotten moons igniting with energy, derelict stations coming online after millennia of silence. In the Council's chambers, chaos erupted once more. Zara watched in horror as sensors showed massive awakenings across hundreds of systems. "They're not human," she whispered. "They're something else." Admiral Senvok stared at the readings. They were waiting for someone to activate that relic. And the humans did it. The Council now had two fears: the unstoppable humans and the unknown architects they had just awakened. On Mars, Hale looked out the window as the stars shimmered with strange new lights. "So the galaxy had gods once," he said. "Looks like they're back," Lynn asked quietly. "Do we fight them?" Hale's answer was calm, steady, and cold. "We fight everything that tries to rule us, even gods." And so humanity began to prepare not for war against empires but against something far greater. The fires of Earth had already burned once to prove a point. Now, they would burn again, to remind creation itself what it meant to be human. In the void, the architects watched. Their eyes glowed brighter. "They have inherited the will," one said. "The question is, will they survive the consequence?" The galaxy trembled as the new age began. Humanity had awakened the past, and now the universe itself was answering. No one had believed what humans could do. Now even the ancient gods would. Stars flickered like dying embers across the void, each light trembling in the wake of something vast moving between galaxies. Humanity's message, the one born from Erebus, had awakened forces no living being had witnessed in millions of years. The architects had returned, and now they watched. On Mars, General Hale stood before a wall of glowing projections. Every feed, Council, Terran, Independent, was the same. Ancient machines rising from dead worlds, entire constellations shimmering with energy. "How many confirmed awakenings?" he asked quietly. Commander Lynn replied, her voice steady despite the chaos. 238 across the spiral arm, all responding to the same signal frequency, the one we triggered. Hale's gaze darkened. "So we lit the fire. Now they're following the smoke." Outside the command citadel, the Martian night burned red. Fleets launched one after another, vanishing into the dark toward Erebus 4. Across Earth and Luna, citizens watched the skies, not with fear, but with a grim, silent pride. Humanity had faced extinction before. They had learned to fight gods wearing crowns of flesh. Machines would be no different. In orbit, Admiral Reyes and his fleet prepared for the impossible. The TDS Vengeance hovered at the center of a vast formation, human ships glimmering like silver blades. On the tactical display, several red markers pulsed closer. "Contact in 30 minutes, said an officer. Unknown configuration approaching from beyond mapped space. Reyes exhaled slowly. "So the architects arrive." "Sir," another voice called. "They're broadcasting something." A low hum filled the bridge, turning into a deep, resonant tone. The translation system struggled before forming coherent words. "Children of dust, we come not to destroy but to judge." Reyes narrowed his eyes. "Judgment. That's what they call it." The next moment the stars shifted. Dozens of colossal vessels emerged, each one the size of a moon, their surfaces alive with moving symbols and light. They didn't radiate energy like human ships. They sang it, resonating with the fabric of space itself. On Mars, Hale watched the feed in silence. "Transmit all channels," he ordered. "Every human colony, every fleet. This isn't just a war, it's a message to everything alive." The architects spoke again, their voices layered and haunting. "When your kind first crawled from the oceans, we watched. When you reached the stars, we waited. You were meant to remain silent. Yet you built weapons, tore worlds, and woke the void. Now we decide if you are worthy of the stars you stole." Hale's reply was short and sharp. "We didn't steal the stars. We earned them." At that, the architects' ships began to glow brighter. Space itself bent around them. "Brace for impact," shouted Reyes. The sky erupted, beams of light wider than mountains struck the Terran line. Entire fleets shook under the assault. Shields melted, armor tore apart, but humanity held. For every ship that burned, another moved forward. The Terrans fired back, their plasma cannons carving scars across the glowing surfaces of the architect vessels. Reyes shouted through the smoke-filled bridge, "Target their core frequencies. Overload their harmonics." The fleet's AI responded instantly. Across the void, human weapons shifted tone, adjusting to counter the enemy's resonance. The first architect vessel cracked, its radiant light flickering like a dying sun. On Mars, Hale clenched his fists. "They bleed. Keep going." The battle spread for hours, turning space into a storm of fire and sound. Thousands died, but humanity didn't retreat. Their determination burned hotter than plasma. At the height of the chaos, the architect's voice returned, no longer calm, but edged with something almost human. "You fight like your makers." Hale's breath froze. "Makers?" The voice continued. "Your kind carries their design. You are fragments of what came before. They defied us too, they died. You may yet follow, Commander Lin whispered. They mean ancient humans? Prehistoric creators? Maybe, Hale said. Maybe we're their echo. Then without warning, Erebos IV pulsed again. The ancient relic buried beneath its crust came alive, emitting waves that shattered communications across systems. Every human ship, every architect construct paused as if listening to the same heartbeat. On the planet's surface, Commander Vale, long believed lost, stood amid the burning ruins of the first dig site. Her armor was scorched, her face lit by the glow of the relic. Through her visor, blue light poured into her eyes. She whispered to no one, "They're not gods. They're old machines afraid of being replaced." And then the relic answered her. A deep voice thundered inside her mind. Finish what they could not. End the cycle. Vale raised her hand and the ground split open. Energy erupted, rising into orbit and striking the nearest architect ship. It shattered like glass, its light fading into darkness. From Mars, Hale watched in disbelief. That's her. She's controlling it. The other architect vessels began to move, retreating from orbit. Their final words echoed through every human comlink. The test is complete. The cycle breaks, the skies calmed. The glowing signatures faded. In the silence that followed, Hale spoke softly. They called us children of dust. I think they were right. But dust doesn't die, it just waits to rise again. Across the galaxy, the war was over. Humanity stood bruised but unbroken, their fleets drifting among the stars like silent guardians. The Council watched from afar, too afraid to intervene. On Arevos IV, Commander Vale stared at the relic as it dimmed. She whispered, "We weren't being tested for destruction. We were being tested for freedom." The stars flickered again, and for the first time in history, the galaxy realized something terrifying. Humanity had faced gods and survived. No one had believed what humans could do. Now the universe itself would never doubt again.